Welcome to Daisy Nick's Recipes and DIY Crafts. Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to upcycle an old broken Welsh dresser. It cost me £70 to buy from a second-hand shop. Here's the Welsh dresser I'm upcycling today. It didn't have top drawers and cupboards on there, but it has got bottom ones which I've taken out here, and I'm going to start taking all the hinges off and the knobs off, ready to take the unit outside and start sanding. I've brought the unit outside ready for sanding. I've taken all the knobs off the drawers and all the hinges off the door fronts there, and all the hinges off the side here as well, so it's all ready for sanding and painting. I'm going to be using the Bosch. It's like a little mouse sander. It's great. It has interchangeable little sanding discs here, and there we go, there's the drawer fronts. Again, took all the knobs off. I will be sanding all of this down basically to bare wood, because the varnish here is very, very brittle. It's just all gone very, very brittle, and it just all needs removing. So I'll remove all that, and when I paint I won't need a primer because I'll be taking it straight down to wood. On the top here, it's got a nice good thick shelf for the top. This will be going straight down to bare wood, and I will be keeping that plain and waxing that. Now when sanding, always go and follow the grain when you sand. There we go. I'll be using, probably, as this is so brittle, the varnish, I'll be probably using an 80 grit. What else have I got? I think the 40 grit will be too harsh, to be honest, so I'll try the 80 first and then go on to the 120. And for the top, that's for all the drawer fronts and all these sides that are painted. And for the top, after I finish with the 120, I'll go on to, if I've got one here, a 180. Which I should have somewhere. I'll have some 180s somewhere. There we go. Now also wear gloves, a mask as well because of the dust, and also eye protectors. I am outside, so the dust, I've got good ventilation everywhere. So there we go. I'm going to start sanding all of these pieces down, and I'll come back to you when I've finished. Okay, everything's been sanded now, all the cupboard fronts and the cupboard. I have sanded 3 times. I had to use a 40 grit in the end to start with because the wood was quite bad and really dinked, and I just had to sort of take quite a layer off. Then I went on to the 80, now I'm on the 120. So when I finish that, I've only got a little bit left to do, I will start painting, but literally I've taken all of the varnish off completely. It's down to bare wood. So I'm going to start painting next. I'll come back to you when I've done a paint layer. Okay, the paint I'm using today is a cupboard paint. I'm using a small roller and a brush, a combination of both. So this will help get in the edges, and this I'll do on the main body of it. And of course we're leaving the top natural. I like to use these small rollers as well because they fit directly into the tin, which I think is great. So I'm going to paint this, and then I'll do all the cupboard fronts as well. I'm going to do the insides as well, so it really looks like a nice job. And this is how it's looking after one coat. I do need to just take off those little magnet pieces there to finish off the edges. There we go, that's how it's looking. I'm now painting the cupboard fronts. I've brought them inside because it's got dark outside, and I've just lost the light. I'm using a roller because it gives a nice even finish. I will be doing 2 coats of this as well. If there's any little bits in your paint, make sure you get those off, because it does make a difference to the finish. Carry on and finish all of these now. I'll also do the drawer fronts and the cupboard doors. I'm now using a combination of my brush for all of the edges and a foam roller for the rest, and I will also go over with a foam roller, and it gives a nice smooth finish to the cupboard fronts. I'll just show you an easy way I found of painting the cupboard fronts. I'm now painting the cupboard fronts. I'm just going to show you the way I do it, which I find quite easy. I first use my brush and do the inward bits here, because you need the brush to get into all the edges. Get all that done first. It's a bit like when you're painting a larger door, when they have these shapes to them. So make sure you get right into the edges. Don't leave too much paint in those edges, so just dab them as you go by. There we go. And then I use the roller and do the main part of it. If you get any bits on any hairs or anything that you see, get those off as you go along. There we go. I've also got it balanced on a box, which I find quite handy, because I can just carry the box to one side for it to dry, and I've got the others on the box, it's just drying. Just go over those edges that you did with the brush so they look a bit more even. Same with the others. We will be doing 2 coats on this as well. There we go, and then we'll do the outside bit. Do that, and then I'll go down the sides. I'll keep this area free for a minute, because it's where I'll hold it. Cut the sides. Again, do the edges. There we go. Do the edges on there. And then I'll do the other edge. And that's how I paint my cupboards, and I find that the easiest, quickest way. Then I can just set that aside to dry and move on to the next item. Just go over that again. There we go. Everything's still drying from the second coat and the unit here, which now I am doing the top. So I am literally waxing. What I'm using is this, and I'm just waxing the top. So I'm literally just rubbing this back and forth all into the grain. This is probably the 3rd time I've done this, and I'll just keep going with it and then buffing it up. Here's the unit now. I've put the top back onto the base. I had to sand it separately because I just didn't have the room. I've done exactly the same as the base. I've sanded it all down and then painted 2 coats of the cupboard paint. I used a foam roller in the end and a brush. There we go, and now I'm going to put all the handles back on to the drawers. I'm using a 5mm wood drill to drill the handles back on. The handles I'm using are 2 different sizes because I've got the large drawers and then the little cupboard drawers. So these ones I got off Amazon and they were measured as 35mm white porcelain handles. That's what I've got, the small ones. The larger ones, I can't actually remember where I got them from, maybe B&Q, but they must be a larger size than the 35mm. And there goes in the last cupboard along there. So I've got all of those handles done on the middle section there. And now I'm going to do the bottom cupboards. I have lots of fixtures and fittings to go back on, so I'll be putting these on. These are for the shelves, these are my hinges, and then all other little bits and bobs just to go back in place where the hinges are and everything else. I've got everything screwed back in place now, all the handles on and doors on and drawers in, and I'm really pleased with how it's come out. I'm going to put 6 little baskets in the top section for storage, and there you go, it's all done. I'm really pleased with it. I've upcycled other pieces of furniture with the same handles and using the same paint, so it's all matching. I've put baskets in the top part. They did used to have cupboard fronts on there, and it has left behind the hinges. I bought it without the cupboard fronts on, so they were missing, so that's why I've put baskets in there instead. So when you want to do the same and leave the cupboard fronts off, you do need to fill the hinges. I'm using this wood filler in natural. I should have perhaps done this before I painted, so I've just sanded a bit of paint off it and put this on, and then I'll repaint over the area so you won't tell that there's been hinges on there at all, just to finish that off and smooth it out. I'm also filling the little holes on the side there from where the hinge was. I'm using my trowel to just smooth that over. A few coats on, then sand it over. I hope you've enjoyed my upcycling project. If so, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more DIYs.